we have developed this presentation really because we recognize that interviewing can be kind of overwhelming, and we want to provide some resources from the employer perspective of how you can kind of best represent yourself in the interview to get that job that you want. So this presentation, AKA, oh no, Stephanie and Hannah's Guide to Crushing Your Interview. So look forward to all of the fun things. All right, go ahead, Stephanie.
All right, so who are we? Just a little brief overview of CyberFirstQ. We were actually founded in 1995, so we've been around for over 25 years now. Much like the cybersecurity industry itself, we have evolved significantly over the years. For many years, we kind of acted as a value-added reseller, and we wrapped our support and services around supporting different security technologies, big focus on firewalls. But in the past several years, we've really spun what we do to more SOC services. So we have security operations centers where we do security incident and event management, meaning that we're the 24/7 network monitoring. In addition to that, we also provide risk assessment and strategic guidance for your overall cybersecurity program. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Yeah. So as we get started in interviewing today, I want to start you out with this quote. Believing in yourself is the first secret to success. I know that it is very overwhelming when you are starting out in your career journey. I recognize that. But I also want you to be inspired today and to take that step to believe in yourselves as we get into it. So you've got the interview, right? At this point, you've applied for a job and you have an interview. What do you do now? You want to start out with doing some research. This research is going to be foundation and key to your interviewing experience. So what should you be looking for? You want to be looking out for information about the, I'm so sorry, information about the company, information about the role, information about the interviewer, and then kind of get a baseline for some common questions that may be asked. So these are just sort of the general categories you want to be looking at. How do you go about learning about a company? There's a lot of information out there. It can be hard to know. I would recommend these 3 things to start kind of piecing together some of the things. So definitely dig into their website, into their LinkedIn, and their the Glassdoor reviews, things like that to get an outside perspective. So here are some questions you can kind of answer for yourself as you're researching a company. So looking on their website, what do they do? What's their history? What's their mission? Kind of start getting an idea of all of these things. My biggest recommendation is to get yourself a Word doc, a notebook, and start writing down these things, especially if it's a company you're really excited to join, because this will help you as you're formulating kind of your interview prep. So another key thing that you want to do is make sure you have a really good understanding about what the role is. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've interviewed someone who thought they were interviewing for a different role than what our role was. And it was very awkward. It was just very awkward. Let me tell you, there was one time I interviewed someone who thought it was a totally different company, like multiple times was like, oh yeah, at XYZ company, and named it a different company multiple times. And it was just incredibly awkward. And you don't want that to be your experience. So read through the job description, read through it again, kind of piece together some of the things that you've already learned from the website, from the LinkedIn, from Glassdoor or other reviews to kind of clue you into what you would be doing in the position. And then apply that information that you learned what the role could be. And don't assume anything about the position, because you never know what exactly it could be structured like. So another key part to it is understanding who's going to interview you, so that way you know what types of questions they may ask. A lot of times, for example, at our company, we have a multiple step interview process. And so if you know, oh, hey, this person's a part of this department, you might know a little bit more kind of the types of questions, and then you can kind of prepare yourself. And this is really where LinkedIn can really be helpful, because you can research the person who you're interviewing with, get an understanding of their background, get an understanding of what they might be doing, and then use Google and be like, hi, what types of questions should I expect in this type of interview? What about this type of interview? And really, there are a lot of awesome resources out there that are just there if you do a little research and you know kind of what to look for.
A super quick way to do that too is just go on the company page for that company's LinkedIn and look at their employees. It's like the 3rd thing down. And then you can see the different employees and what roles that they're in.
Yeah, really easy way just to prepare yourself. And it makes a difference when you come into the interview, knowing a little bit about the person who's interviewing you. It really makes a difference. It shows them that, oh, hey, you did your research. So after you have done some preliminary research, like I said, really recommend just writing down some notes. It's time to get ready for skills. So Stephanie, tell us about skills.
All right, this is definitely your time to shine. We put it there on purpose. So when we think about skills, I don't want you to think just strictly about a technical skill that you might have learned, or a skill of writing a paper, or just the specifics of what you learned in class. But a big part of the skill set in today's market is soft skills. I cannot emphasize this enough. Your ability to speak in public, your ability to write and communicate well, your ability to research, your ability to interact with team members and collaborate. All of those things are key. There are very few roles out there where you can just hide in the back and don't have to interact with anyone. There are some roles like that in tech, not here, but those are few and far between. The way that the tech space operates now is highly collaborative and high levels of interaction. So I can't say enough about that. And then also think about how what you've done in the past can translate and be valuable for employer. A big thing to think about is, and it's just called transferable skills, is you learn doing early career job. So my very first job was at Burger King, and I learned about customer service. Back then they used to have customer service. That was really good. And so all of those skills that you've learned through your different types of employment shape the person that you are. So really think back about what you've done in the past, and then think of how you can articulate to the interviewer, this is because of the skill, I think I will be able to do well, blah, blah. So create an action plan. You want to prep your answers. You don't want canned answers though. We've heard those a million times before. Try to go beyond a generic response. If somebody asks you, what are some of the key attributes that you bring? Saying you're dependable, hardworking, and reliable is very canned and dry. Think about more specific aspects of your personality and skill set that you can talk about. If there's something that you haven't, you covered in the past and you haven't looked at recently, look at that job description, look at the skills that they're asking for, and take some time and refresh yourself on some of that subject matter. For instance, one of the asked our people to know is to have an OSI model. So if you were going to interview with us, that's right in the job description. It would be a great idea to review that model and make sure that you bring it back to the front of mind. And then just be honest about what you know and don't know. I'd much rather have someone tell me that I don't know that, but I know that I can pick up that skill, or this is how I would go about learning that. To me, no one in the world knows every single thing about every single job. It's just impossible to do. There's always company aspects. No matter how many years you've been working on something, you're not going to be 100%. That's pretty much, you might be 50% qualified, 70% qualified, 80% qualified. What's really important is that you're able to articulate how you go about learning. And just having that continuous improvement type of mindset and showing that off to the potential employers. Oh, wait, there's more.
Yeah, so like Stephanie already mentioned, I think one of the mistakes that sometimes people assume, especially in technical roles, and just because they don't know, is that the technical role is just about your technical skills. And that is not the case. Not to be like creepy about it, everything that you're doing in the interview process is being watched. Every way that you interact with people, your follow-up communication, how you show up to the interview. These are all things that are considered when you are interviewing. So you really want to think strategically about what you're doing, because it's not just your technical skills. You could be really awesome technically and not be professional and be able to like have those types of conversations and be able to present yourself well. And you might not be a good fit for the role because of that. So if you think through, how can I represent myself the very best in every single area, you will find a lot more success than just like being like, oh, I have these technical skills. I'm perfect fit for the job.
We have some great examples here too. So one of the key things that we do is when we have a job posting out there, we interact back and forth via email. Seldom call people to arrange interview appointments and times. One of the biggest things, mistakes I see made often is people communicate in those emails like it's a text message. You should consider that a formal communication, and you should treat it as such. 100% recommend this. It's one of the things that we're looking for. In most jobs, you are going to have to provide some sort of documentation. I have yet to hear of a job where written communication is not key. So we're assessing you on that right away. And then, is this where we want to tell our other story?
We
Hannah? I
can,
don't
we can
remember.
save that story for
Okay.
later. We'll save that story for later. We have so many fun stories. So after you've gone through some time to research, after you've gone through some time to kind of think through your skills, the next thing that you want to do, and this is an absolute key, is actually sitting down and preparing your questions, because you want to think this, this interview is as much yours as it is the company's. So what do you want to know? What do you need to be successful? And all of those types of things. So some things to think about, and there are more things than just this, but what are the things that are important for you out of a potential job? Especially as you're thinking your first job, more so related to your career. What are the opportunities for growth? Is that something that's really important to you? Getting an understanding of how the company does things, what is their communication like? What is the culture like there? Knowing who you would report to, that is a huge thing. That is a huge thing. And I think people don't think about that all the time, especially as you're just like, I'll take whatever job I can get. I just want to get out there. But who you're reporting to and who you're working with is a huge, huge thing. Other logistics of the job, if they're important to you, or, the specific work you'll be working on, this is a great time to think through okay, I've reviewed the job description. I understand more about the company does, but I'm not exactly clear on XYZ thing. This is a really great time to think through what those questions are. Because it shows you're prepared. It shows that you're engaged, shows that you're excited for the job. And have those things that you want to ask. You always want to ask questions. Don't say no questions. I don't have any questions.
That is
think
the
of
kiss
something.
of death.
Think
Do
of
not
something.
do that.
Do something. Anything. It can be non-generic is better, right? Like you don't want to do the canned questions, but something is better than nothing.
And if nothing else and all else fails, people love talking about themselves. So
Yes.
you can always just ask the interviewer what they like about working there.
Exactly. So a couple other things to think about with questions. Knowing your audience, knowing who you're talking to is helpful, but don't be afraid to ask any type of question at any stage of the interview. Because again, it just shows that you're interested. Even if someone asks me a highly technical question, I might not know all the details, but I can provide a high level response. And it shows to me that you're excited about the work you would be doing. And have those questions ready at each stage. Because if it is multiple interviews, you do want to make sure that you're asking questions at each stage. What you ask does matter, and the order in which you ask it also does matter. So for example, it is very telling to me if the person only asks questions that are related to compensation or to getting, reimbursement for things, or, those benefits related questions. It's very telling if those are the only questions that you ask. So you want to think through, if that's an important thing to you, that's totally fine, but you want to think through what are the other things that are important to you as well, to show that you're not just in it for the money.
Ask those questions last. You can still ask them in a first interview, but just ask all of your engagement showing questions before you ask those.
Exactly. And this, like I said, this is the perfect time to highlight your passion for the role and really show that you're engaged and you're excited, as well as the research that you've done. That really makes candidates stand out. For sure. So after you thought through your questions, this is the perfect time to practice. Stephanie, how should people be practicing?
Right. So basketball players don't go on the court without having lots of practice, and nobody is going up in a play without doing some rehearsals. So here's how we practice. And this happens all the time in my life. I've been doing HR related work for quite some time now. And I am the go-to for my family, friends, practice interviewing. And you may not have that person in your life, but you definitely have some smart people and family members and friends who care about you. So I highly recommend that you get some general questions and you practice what you want to say to those, and then have someone conduct mock interviews with you. it'll just get you used to hearing your own self talking out loud and talking about your work history. And it will really help you get over stammering and using a bunch of filler words like the so, you know, you like what, all of those words. It'll give you the opportunity to prepare and communicate and present yourself in a way that lets you shine and you're bringing your best self.
Definitely practice out loud. Here's the thing. I get that it's awkward. I get that it's uncomfortable, but actually actually committing to it and actually doing it out loud makes a huge difference.
And you can always take out your cell phone and record yourself and re-listen to it back. That's another option too. Again, all kind of odd behaviors, but this is what professionals do. This is what your favorite actor or actress is doing to prepare. So you are going up for the role that you want. Treat it as such. So phone friend, like I said, family member, friend, colleague, even if it's got to be Siri, have it be some sort of practice where you have an opportunity to say all these things out loud. Go through the practice interview and then ask for feedback. Ask your most honest friend, because they're the ones who are going to help you the most. What do they notice? Are you knowledgeable and excited? And then again, those filler words. Are you saying and so a whole bunch of times? Really want to try to eliminate those as much as possible. We all say them, but in an interview, if you can just pause rather than a pause is better. So just little habits to practice on. And then just kind of think about what you want to improve upon and try to be more conversational. That's one of the things that Hannah and I do at the beginning of all of our interviews is just try to set the stage and let people know our interview style is conversational. And that's because it's important to us to let people be at ease. Not every interview person is going to treat it that way, but the more that you can come across as poised and confident, the better off it'll be for you.
Exactly. So it's the time for the big day. You prepared, you've done all of the things. Now you're ready for the day.
Crush it.
Yeah. So some essential things to prepare.
All right. Give yourself at least 15 minutes beforehand. Don't be running in from the grocery store or schedule something immediately after your class ends. You have time. Make sure that you have the time so that you feel calm, collected, and prepared. Make sure you're in a quiet space with minimal distractions and plain wall. I have got to see the fabulous gallery walls of some candidates with like the zigzag rolling paper thing on it, all that stuff I don't need to see.
Background filters exist.
They do exist, or find a plain background. Dress your best. You are going for a role that you want. Even if it is a video interview, don't show up in a hoodie. I will tell you about a recent interview I had where the candidate used to be in sales and was trying to transition into a technical position, sent me a resume with his fabulous picture on it, which pictures are not required on resumes, but he had made the choice to have his picture on his resume. And then lo and behold, in the video interview, Wolfman Jack showed up. He was wearing a dirty hoodie. I don't know the last time he combed his hair. The beard was totally unkept. Like, listen, you have facial hair, just trim it up, make it a little bit neat. That's fine. I want people to be who they authentically are. But, you know, showering ahead of time is a really great idea.
Yeah.
And then make sure all of your technical resources are set up. I mean, we all have gotten a lot more used to using Zoom and things of the like, but not all companies will necessarily use that platform. So for instance, we use Microsoft Teams and it's given people issues before. So always just make sure that you download whatever the app is or you have it already far ahead of time. And then if they provide you with any instructions, follow those. Another funny story is back when we were doing on-site interviews, we're in a 2-story building and our interview email specifically instructed them to have a seat in the lobby where the blue couches are. Very specific detail. And so many people would come in here and wander upstairs to our neighbor or just curiously wander around. And we have cameras, so we saw all of your silly behavior. So just follow the instructions that are provided to you.
Yeah, makes it a lot better that way, for sure. The other thing, as you're hitting the day of, right? The other thing that I definitely want to encourage you all is to actually take that time, relax, do something for yourself, have a cup of tea, read a book, do some yoga. I don't know, whatever your thing is. It's totally natural to be nervous for an interview. I think, to be honest, sometimes it's good, right? Sometimes we like to see that like a candidate is a little bit nervous because it shows that you actually care. That being said, when you put the preparation behind what you're doing, when you actually have taken that time to prepare and you are ready for the day, just take a break, relax. You've prepared, you've got it all under control. And when you actually give yourself that time to relax, then you'll go into the interview and be like a little bit more at ease versus being like on edge. So definitely take that time before the interview as well.
All that preparation is just going to lead to a confident, poised person who is ready to get the role they want.
Exactly. So in summary, these are our 5 steps to really just crush your interview. So again, to reiterate, you want to do that research ahead of time. Look for some of those things about the company, have a really good idea of what the role is and who potentially you could be interviewing with. And you want to take that time to prepare your skills and to think, okay, what have I already done? What are my gaps? How can I really make sure that I'm representing myself the best that I want to be? Going ahead and then preparing your own questions, practicing with a friend, saying it out loud, and then boom, you're ready for the day. You have everything in control. So that is the end of the content that we have for you. This is how to connect with us. That being said, we would love to hear questions that you all have, any experiences that you've had, that you're like, oh, what about this? What about this? Anything that is unclear, we would love to chat about it. If you want to put it in the chat or if you want to speak out loud, either would be totally great.
And just, you're also welcome to unmute yourselves, but if you have any questions, and we do have one question in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
Julie writes, I've heard it's bad to ask about salary during an interview. Is that true?
It's all about how you do it. So I have these conversations with people every day. And so sometimes it's just best to be like, okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page and just always take into consideration that you want to be transparent, and it's a respect thing. So I bring it up in the first conversation, especially when right now I'm interviewing for sales candidates. They can be all over the map and they have a whole different way of being compensated. I have that conversation, I bring it up, and they're always grateful when I bring it up. But it's perfectly okay to ask what the expected salary range is for the role. Just doing so in a very respectful manner and being like, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, especially if you have a requirement in your head already. You deserve to make the money that you feel that you're worth. So I always feel that it's appropriate. And research the role ahead of time.
Yeah, that's where
there's salary.com. What's the other one? There's
salary.com.
There's a bunch of them out
There's
there.
a bunch of them out there.
And you can look at Indeed and see things that are out there. Have an idea of what the going rate is for the experience so that you're not lowballing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And just to jump in here too, Stephanie and Hannah, is here at Schoolcraft, we also have software that updates in real time that anybody can use. It's accessible on our website through Career Coach, and Career Coach is run by a company named MZ. And they put statistical information related to salary and other information about more than 35,000 different careers. And we've had it programmed to Southeast Michigan. So, you know, obviously if y'all are going to live in New York or LA, where the salaries are going to be exponentially higher than they are in the Metro Detroit area because the cost of living is higher, we can also help you find that information if you have trouble with it. But I'll put the Career Coach link in the chat. So if anybody wants to take advantage of it, they're welcome to do so. And you don't have to be a student to use it.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Any other questions from anyone?
Thought we saw. Oh, I think I see some things in the chat.
Here we go. Oh, that's a good one.
Julie asks,
yes, what happens when you freeze up, you guys?
That is such a good question. I think part of this goes back to like taking some time to like relax yourself a little bit beforehand. And so that way you are a little bit more calm, because I think sometimes people freeze up when they're just like a little bit overwhelmed. That preparation ahead of time really can help. That being said, if you're asked a question and you're like, I have absolutely no idea, I don't even know, try to take a stab at it if you can, even if you don't know something. Have absolutely no idea, to say like, oh, hey, I've not heard of this before. If I had to make an educated guess, I would say blah, blah, blah. And then also, it's totally okay to say you don't know something.
Additionally, too, if you just freeze because you like forgot something in the moment, just acknowledge it. Life is about falling down and getting back up. So if they show that, to me, it would be very genuine if in an interview, the candidate was like, I just totally lost that, and then had a quick recovery. That's going to tell me that when they make mistakes at work, because they're human, we don't employ any robots yet, that they know how to pick themselves back up and we can quickly move on and recover. That's a skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also like Lila's comment where she says it's okay to say, wow, let me take a minute before I answer, and then pause and think about it.
Yeah.
Is it also okay to say, can we come back to that question? What are your
Absolutely.
opinions on that, ladies?
My thought is, I mean, if someone needs some time to think about something, I totally get that. And things come back to them later in the interview, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, it happens probably 1 out of every 7 interviews, I would guess.
Very
Like when
frequently.
you're high level technical interviewing,
Yeah.
it happens a lot. But it looks like Dimitri has a question too.
Hello.
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 Hi. So I have a question. I am an international student in Schoolcraft, and English is not my first language. So sometimes I have difficulties or my accent, understanding. People find it hard sometimes to understand the accent, and the words sometimes they don't come directly. So I try to do my best. I'm improving and everything. How does this affect the interview? And I want to say, like an example, I had an interview a while ago, and even the interviewer was foreign. She had a really thick accent that she made me a question, and I just didn't catch one of her words because of her accent. And I was not understanding the question to like this. That's why I didn't answer. I asked her to repeat the question again. She did not change the wording. She said exactly the same thing, and I couldn't understand the question. That's my problem, and I didn't understand the question. It's not because I didn't know what to answer. It was not because I couldn't understand the question.
Yeah, so I would say be your authentic self. So my last name's Ben Khalifa, in case you can't tell that my husband, English is not his first language. I totally understand what you're going through. And we have several employees here who English is not their first language. The best way to handle that situation is just acknowledge it again and be like, I'm sorry, English is my first language. Do you mind rephrasing that question? I don't quite understand what you're getting to. And just asking them to repeat it. And even who is worth their salt and respectable to people is going to repeat it. And if they won't, then you don't want to work there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you guys always remember that when you're in an interview and an employer is interviewing you, you're evaluating that employer as well. And that's, I'm so glad that the comment was just brought up, Stephanie and Hannah, that, you know, if you get an employer who's difficult, thank yourself, because you're going to say, boy, I'm just going to keep on with this interview, but boy, this tells me I definitely do not want this job, or I don't want to work for somebody like this. So thank you for bringing that point up. That was a great point.
Yeah, it needs to be win-win for both people.
Julie would like to ask, what's your opinion about sending a thank you note after the interview? Does it look a little too eager, or what are your thoughts?
No.
Love your questions, Julie. Good questions.
Yeah. Absolutely send a thank you. No, it doesn't have to be super formal, but just thanking the interviewer for their time. I don't necessarily, especially for the entry level roles, hold it against anyone. In a sales role though, if they don't send follow-up, then the interview process stops there. So really, earlier in your career, you could probably get away with not doing it. And, but anything that you do just shows a little bit more of your character. So that good follow-up, I'm looking for people who have great customer service skills in addition to their technical skills. So just that level of follow-up is a prime example of like, well, this person took the time to do this. What's going on. It never makes you look bad.
Exactly.
If you follow it up, like, I will find you, like that Wedding Crasher stage 5 clinger, and you sent 6 or 7 emails, that would be a different scenario. But one kind follow-up email, 100% do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, Lila. It puts your name in front of them again, and that is you want to be memorable in a good way.
Yes.
You know, you want people to remember your name. You want people to remember the conversation in a good way. So doing things like that really just puts your name in front of them again and keeps you top of mind.
Absolutely. Any other questions from anyone? Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Again, let me stop the screen share here for just a second. Oops, can I get one of, well, anyway, I do want to thank you all for being here today. It's really very much appreciated. I'm always just so grateful for Hannah and Stephanie and their willingness to, from the recruiter's point of view, they're giving you solid advice. And again, you're hearing this straight from the recruiter. But I do want to let all of you know that if you have questions or you need any assistance with anything, I put the career services email in the chat box. Please feel free to follow up with us. We are here to help you, and you don't have to wait, nor should you wait until you graduate. So if you're students, please, we're open to you. We're here, I was gonna say 24/7, 8 to 5. It feels like it sometimes. 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. Julie and I are here, and we're here to help you. If you're not a student here at Schoolcraft, we're still here to help you. Everything that our office does is open to the community. So Hannah and Stephanie, thank you so much. This was a fantastic presentation. To everybody here today, I really appreciate you being here. I hope this was helpful for you. And watch again. We have got Hannah and Stephanie are coming back for fall, so we're going to have more new content for you at that time. But if you need anything in the meantime, everyone, we're here in the McDowell Student Center, room 123, or email us at careerservices@schoolcraft.edu. Thanks so much, Hannah and Stephanie. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah,
thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Feel free to connect with us.
Yeah, find us on LinkedIn. Say hi.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.